Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the ThePCelitist. My name is Woodsie.
My name is Shepard.
And today we're talking about Call of Duty. One of the developers says its own gamers aren't even gamers.
Yes.
They're not gamers.
Right. Mark Rubin, who is an executive producer of Infinity Ward, and we'll post the link to this article, he was talking about how, the phenomenon we all know about. Activision releases another Call of Duty game every year. Every year it sells millions and millions of copies, and every year
Right.
it always gets a 90+ rating from the online critics,
Right.
and like PC Gamer.
The major critics.
And yes, the user reviews are always like 3.5. And
like Ghost right now is like 80%, I believe, and 2.2 in the user ratings.
Yeah, because people are saying this is the same damn game every time, and yet we still, they admit they shell out money for it. And I understand that because I've been there before, back when I used to play Call of Duty.
Right.
I stopped at Modern Warfare. And so basically what Mark Rubin said is, quote, "It's kind of a weird thing, ironic thing to say. They aren't hardcore gamers," meaning Call of Duty players, or even gamers, but they play Call of Duty every night, and those guys are going to continue to play regardless of platform. So I think not only will we continue to engage with that existing player base, but we'll take next gen and see how far we can go with it, end quote. First response from me is what I read from that is, we are making so much money off of this group of people, and they don't look like they're going to kick this addiction anytime soon. So we're going to keep making money off it and see how it goes.
Like they're a bunch of poor addicts.
Yeah.
And they just can't help themselves.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, that's how I read his
All
comments.
I do is sell heroin.
I know. I'm not like demonizing him. I'm not putting him in the same category as a drug dealer.
Right.
But what I read from that is he's a very shrewd businessman. He understands there's so much money to be made here. People keep buying this game. But what he's saying is, to him, most of them, if not almost all of them, don't play any games other than Call of Duty. Does that make them gamers? Or does that just make them Call of Duty players? I think it's an interesting question.
I actually heard some blowback from this comment. Like, how dare you kind of say that they're not gamers or gamers like everyone else?
Or assume that all of them only play Call of Duty when many people play Call of Duty.
He's generalizing, obviously, which I'm a fan of generalizations. I don't care if you generalize, as long as what you're saying is true. You could generalize if that's if generally that sounds right. I think he's right. When I read this comment,
self-fulfilling definition.
When I read that, I was like, he's absolutely right. That's exactly what's going on here. Because that's why it's so frustrating when people have discussions with Call of Duty fanatics, right? Because the reality is that they don't really care about gaming. There are people who play Call of Duty, and that's it. Like I said to you, I think for the most part, if you ask Call of Duty players and said, "What do you think of Sony optimizing its video card?" This isn't true, by the way. What do you think of Sony optimizing its video card in the next platform to accommodate Call of Duty games, the Call of Duty engine, to the chagrin of other developers? I really think a high percentage wouldn't care. It just wouldn't bother them.
Would they say, "What's a video card?"
Yeah, that's exactly what they say.
Sorry, go ahead.
But you ask someone who's a gamer, or to take the coin PC gaming standards phrase, hobbyist gamer, which I think is one of the best ways to describe a person like myself. Gaming is my hobby, not one particular game. Mm-hmm. So I want what is the best for gaming. That's why I play PC. It's the best platform for gaming, as our old videos would say. But a Call of Duty player is only going to care about this one aspect. That's really they bounce between Call of Duty, maybe a few other games, but it really doesn't. They're not invested in the culture of gaming. I think that's what it is. This is what it is. It's the culture of gaming. They're not invested in the culture of gaming. They're invested in the culture of Call of Duty. And that's all they care about.
Well, you feel free to enjoy being a hobbyist gamer.
Right.
I'm an gaming enthusiast, which is why I'm a PC elitist. You're more of a PC preferentialist, it sounds like.
Well, okay.
Get out.
I think that
I see what you're saying.
But the platform,
Yes.
real quick,
platform is more important to you than what you play on the platform.
what the platform provides is what's most important. If something else came around that existed, I don't know what it would be, that was better for gaming, I would switch over to that. But there is nothing that I see on the horizon. The PC is the most,
It's the everything machine.
It's the everything machine. It's the most dynamic machine. It can move forward and faster than anything else.
My key takeaway from this is I do think it's a very interesting question, and I don't necessarily have an answer to it, but I'll at least offer forth some thoughts that I have. And that is the explosion of social and mobile gaming and casual gaming in the last few years.
Right.
Does that mean we should broaden the definition of what it means to be a gamer to include anyone who plays only Angry Birds to people like us who play several different games, sometimes simultaneously? And I don't necessarily have strong feelings either way. I do think that it's important for the sake of discussion, for market research, for advertising, for many other things. I think it's important to differentiate, and companies do. They advertise differently to someone who only plays one game, differently than they do to someone like us.
Right.
But I do think it's an interesting question. I know people who only play Rock Band, or who only play Guitar Hero. Are they gamers, just like I am? If they are, then are we all agreed that we should just call ourselves gamers? And can that lead us, can that facilitate discussions about gaming? Can people who only play one game really participate in a gaming discussion because they don't really have a point of they have a point of reference, but they have nothing to reference it to. They can't tell me what they love about Call of Duty as it compares to other first-person shooters,
Right.
Because they haven't played Arma or Battlefield or PlanetSide 2. So I think it's an interesting starting point for a discussion about how do we have conversations about gaming with this increasingly diversified group of what we may need to call gamers.
Well, I would say that calling us all gamers is moving backwards.
It's a generalization, but as I've heard from someone I trust, you can use a generalization if it's true.
Yes, you can use a generalization if it's true. But here's the thing. I think you could say, yes, these are all gamers technically. Okay? They all play They all play a video game of some kind. Therefore, my mom is a gamer. Right? But within that giant umbrella of gamers, then you have to have a breakdown. And him saying they're Call of Duty players or gamers is a more accurate representation of that group versus not labeling anybody anything. A casual gamer is a casual gamer. I could give you an example of a guy who I know. His name is Joe. He, for some reason, in the Marine Corps, got attached to Diablo 2. He doesn't play any other PC games. He plays Call of Duty on his console. And he just loved Diablo 2 out of just nothing. He's not a gamer. He's not a hobbyist gamer, even though he played Diablo 2 more than I ever played Diablo 2. But he didn't play anything else. All he cared about was Diablo 2 culture. That's all he cared about. And he cares about Call of Duty culture. I don't care so much about Diablo culture that I do about gaming culture. So I think that's where the problem lies, is that a person who cares about gaming culture would be called a gamer, I would think. But that's not how it works. A gamer is anyone who plays games. A person who cares about the gaming culture is an enthusiast, a hobbyist. I think the problem with this is that you're looked down upon if you want to have that title.
Well,
no, listen, you don't understand. I am an enthusiast. I do this,
Well, you have to say it the douchey way. You're an enthusiast. I think that it's also...
I'm a gaming buff.
Right.
Now, what's wrong with being that?
Different from being a buff gamer.
Much harder.
Much harder, yes.
That's much easier than being a buff gamer. No, I mean, I think if you went into a chat room and said, I consider myself a gaming buff, I think people would be like, well, what's that? We're all gamers here, but that's not true. It's just not true. You guys, there's some people who just care about a few cultural things within gaming. You just care about this one particular genre or this particular game type, and that's all you care about.
Well, I think that also lends itself. He said in the very beginning they aren't hardcore gamers. I even think that definition could use some clarification, if not universally, just for at the beginning of any conversation you're going to have about gaming.
Right.
Does hardcore gamer mean that you are you're a hobbyist gamer and you care very passionately about it. You spend a lot of your time doing it. Doesn't matter the game genre. Like can you be a hardcore gamer for just gaming in general? Can you be a hardcore Call of Duty gamer?
I think that is the most accurate way to say it.
Yeah,
because if you say, like what we said, the umbrella is gamer. If I'm a hardcore gamer, it means I explore the entire umbrella.
So you don't think you can be a hardcore FPS gamer, or you can be a hardcore Call of Duty gamer? You think
no, you can be.
You can be. Okay, so hardcore doesn't, by definition, to you, mean diversity of games, that you play many different kinds of games. You're just hardcore about gaming in general.
No, here's what it is. You actually
whatever you're doing, you're very passionate about it.
You have it in reverse. I'm trying to say the reverse of that.
Okay.
Is that generally the vernacular, if someone's playing Call of Duty 12 hours a day and that's all they play, people go, man, he's a hardcore gamer.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, no, that's wrong. Because he is a gamer.
I'd say he's addicted to video games. Or he's addicted to playing video games.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, sure.
Okay? The umbrella is gaming, right? If you're a hardcore gamer, to me, in my mind, if the umbrella is gaming and I'm a hardcore gamer, that means I explore the entire umbrella. I explore all the different game types. I go within all the different genres. Because I'm a hardcore gamer, I explore gaming. But if I just play Call of Duty 12 hours a day, I am a hardcore Call of Duty gamer.
Mm.
I have isolated to that one specific location underneath the umbrella. So I think under the vernacular I'm using, under the definitions I'm using, if he says they're not hardcore gamers, I agree with that statement because they don't explore the umbrella. They just play Call of Duty. So if he said what they are hardcore Call of Duty players or gamers, I would say that's a more accurate way to describe them.
Well, I think if I were in the camp of people who play many different kinds of games, care a lot about several different titles, and just also happen to play Call of Duty, I understand if there is some, not vitriol, because I don't think you could really get pissed about this kind of thing. Because really, what does it matter what this guy thinks about you?
Right.
And if you don't like what, stop buying the game.
This is impossible, apparently.
Yeah. But no, I think being lumped into the assuming everyone who plays it is only playing that game. Generally, when you hear, like, for example, celebrities or athletes in particular, the only games you ever hear about them playing are, like, football players play Madden and Call of Duty. That's the only ones you hear about.
Right.
Unless it's, like, Kurt Schilling, where he plays World of Warcraft.
Right.
Or Dave Chappelle. But I think that kind of feeds into the perception that you just assume that it's a teenage boy, he's probably playing Call of Duty, and not much else.
Right.
I just think that it's a matter of, think of how popular the game is. You're not going to hear too much in this kind of generalization that this particular segment plays this particular game. To any game, if that's really one of the either 1, 2, maybe 3 games you play, you are a hardcore fill-in-the-blank gamer, is what you're proposing.
That's what I'm proposing.
So to be a hardcore gamer, you have to be about everything under the umbrella. Or
in my definition, you have to care about the culture of gaming in its entirety. It's like if someone said, I am a movie buff. I love movies. Movies are my thing. And you go, hey, you want to watch the new Les Miserables movie? You go, no, I mostly watch Marvel movies.
Yeah, or I'm a Darren Aronofsky fan. That's about it.
I only watch pretty much this one genre. Okay, well, you like these movies. You're not a movie buff. I mean, if you don't explore outside of that genre, then for you to go out there and go, yeah, I'm a movie guy. I love movies. Well, no, you love one specific type of movie. That's fine. Goonies rule it if you want. But you know what? I mean, you got to be honest with what you're saying.
An interesting place to begin, I think. We turn it over to you. Not just about what you think about what Mark Rubin had to say or anything that we've said in this video. What are your thoughts on the definition of what it means to be a hardcore gamer, or what it means to be a gamer who plays only 1, 2, maybe even 3 different titles, and that's it? Do you think that we need to kind of reassess what kind of labels we use? And what do you consider yourself? Are you a hardcore gamer, or do you really just stick to certain genres, or are you just a hardcore PC elitist fan?
And I want PC gaming standards, since I'm using his term. I would like him to describe what he thinks it is to be a hobbyist gamer. My name is Woodsie.
My name is Shepard. This is the PC Elitist, and don't forget to check out our dual cast reviews on TruePCGaming.com.